So welcome to this Did You Know session. We're going to look at today how we can incorporate failure criteria into the test definition, allowing you to mark the test as pass or fail based on this criteria. So let's go to BlazeMeter. So as you can see on the left hand side we have the results screen, and in the status you can see some say pass, some say fail, one's aborted, but also some say not set. These are tests that do not have failure criteria set. So let's show you how we define a failure criteria. So we're going to go and click on our example test. The first thing we see is the history of this test. So here you can see the previous runs of this particular test we're looking at. We can look at a high-level summary of those tests. And you can also see that we've actually defined one of these tests as a baseline, and we'll show you how we use that shortly. If we look at the trend chart, again, we can see where the baseline is for these tests, but it shows you how this test has performed over time. And we're now going to show you how we can go and set our failure criteria. So we're going to go to the configuration. So we're going to scroll down to the failure criteria section, and you can see it's enabled for our test. Now on the right hand side you can say if you want to ignore the failure criteria during ramp up, and this is quite a common thing to do. During ramp up the machines are coming up, the results may not be valid, so you can basically say during that ramp up period these criteria don't need to be met. You then define, as you can see here, the rules. So the first one we're saying this is across the whole test. It says all labels. We expect the connection time to be greater than 700, and that's a general failure criteria we've added for this particular test. On the second line, this is looking at an individual label. So this is one specific label in our test. Again, we're saying response time average should be greater than, but instead of the value, we're using the baseline. And what this means is we can say it's an offset. So basically this test will be an offset if the actual test is greater than 2% of the baseline value. We can also select the option for the sliding window. This means we'll evaluate this metric over the 60 seconds at 10-second intervals and stop the test if required if this is breached. If you don't click the stop test, the test will continue at the end and it will be marked as a failure at the end. Now we can add another metric here. As you can see, we're adding another one for perhaps the error percentage. Again, it's all, so it's across all of the test. We set then the condition we're going to use. So we're going to say greater than 5. So we've now got our failure criteria. Let's look at what this looks like in a test result. So if we go to the history for this test, we can look at a test that passed previously. And if we go to the failure criteria, we can see the metrics that we've got in our failure criteria. And on the right hand side, all these failure criteria are met, so the test passed. If we look at a test that failed, so let's take this one from previously, the first thing we do is go into the timeline report, and you can see the labels we just showed you when we defined our failure criteria. That's where the labels are. So you can see we've got this registration labels. In this case, in the failure criteria, you can see the response time was exceeded 199 times. And you can see by the little graphic where that was during the test cycle. So you can see within BlazeMeter how easy it is to add failure criteria to your test. And with the failure criteria, this allows you to see when a test is passing or failing very easily. So for more information about BlazeMeter, please go to blazemeter.com, where we have blogs and videos, and also the BlazeMeter University with lots of free courses for BlazeMeter and open source tools.